My name is Stephen Donko from the ECA, and I'd like to introduce to you at the head table Dr. Josue Dione, the Director for Food Security and Sustainable Development, who would give us a few welcome remarks, and our colleague Mish Hamid from the IW-led program of Jeff. Without much further ado, Josue.
Thank you, Max. Distinguished representative or manager of Jeff IW Learn, Mr. Mish Hamid, distinguished guests, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the UN Economic Commission on behalf of our Executive Secretary and UN Under-Secretary General Dr. Carlos Lopez. ECA appreciates very much being associated with Jeff in hosting this regional targeted workshop on an issue which is of particular relevance to the sustainable management of the most vital and important natural resource, water. Indeed, as the saying goes, water is life. And harnessing water resources is particularly crucial for Africa's development as it relates to all critical areas of economic activities and livelihoods, including agriculture and food, through crops, livestock, fisheries, industry, energy, tourism, domestic uses, and so on and so forth. Therefore, harnessing water resources is critical for the exploitation and management of all other major resources in Africa, including land, minerals, energy, and biodiversity. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, 12 years ago, ECA, together with the African Development Bank and under the political leadership of the African Union, developed the African Water Vision 2025, which was adopted by the African Union Summit in 2004. This common vision has served as the main policy document for water resources management and proven to be vital in Africa's quest for the Millennium Development Goals and our efforts at following up to the outcomes of global summits on sustainable development, of which the last was Rio Plus 20, held in June this year. This brings me to the very timely theme of this workshop, namely how to value ecosystem goods and services in marine and freshwater environment. As we all know, policymakers must make public choices based on analyses which are more tangible when quantified. Unfortunately, in the continuing effort to promote sustainable development for present and future generations, it is evident that the three dimensions of sustainable development, that is the economic, the social, and environmental dimensions, are not equally amenable to quantification. The environmental pillar in particular has been the most difficult to quantify. And as we all know, one can hardly manage what one cannot measure. This gap has made it difficult for policymakers to fully address environmental issues in their efforts at allocating resources for sustainable development in a balanced manner, especially in a context of pressing and competing short-term needs. The example can be applied very, very eloquently to climate change. Basically, we realize that it's still a bit tricky and difficult to convince ministers of finance that it is of great importance and it should be given priority to allocate resources to adaptation to climate change, because they simply need to have that in their own jargon. Tell me what I get out of what I allocate to XYZ. This is the reason why we have undertaken recently with the African Union Commission and the African Development Bank this major initiative called Climate Information for Development in Africa, and setting up the African Climate Policy Center to improve a bit our analytical work on the economics of climate change, so that conversation could flow with ministers of planning, ministers of finance, to put it in their own jargon. Hence, the importance of the emphasis you're placing on the economic value of the ecosystem goods and services of the water environment at this workshop. Providing the tools for the evaluation of these goods and services will make a comparison of options much clearer for African policymakers, especially those with the planning and finance portfolios. This will most likely improve the prioritization of water in socio-economic planning processes of our member states. I hope that the approaches and methodologies that will be discussed in the next 3 days will equip the participants, most of whom I understand are managers of our river, lake, aquifer basins, as well as marine programs, that this workshop will equip them well enough to be with tools to be incorporated in future analytical work in the management of Africa's marine and freshwater resources. At ECA, we will certainly use these tools to strengthen our own capacity, in-house capacities, with a view to enhancing our advice and support to our member states. With this in mind, we will like to follow up to the results of this workshop by partnering with IW Learn and other agencies represented here in developing a standard manual or book to be utilized in disseminating the tools and case studies to all our member states organizations. Furthermore, we will like to foster closer partnership with Jeff through a memorandum of understanding in which the convening power of ECA can be combined with the mandate of Jeff to improve our continent's capacity and ability to sustainably manage its natural resources, such as water, for accelerated economic growth. Distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to specifically welcome our sister commission, the Economic Commission for Europe, ECA, and look forward to the lessons for their water convention, which could be adapted for use in our region. Africa's landscape, as we all know, is marked by a preponderance of transboundary water resources. The development of such resources for energy, navigation, agriculture, industrial and domestic uses require strong levels of international cooperation and regional integration. Our main river basins, such as the Nile, Congo, Niger, Zambezi, Senegal, Volta, and Limpopo, can use the lessons from the ECA basins, such as the Rhine and the Danube. In the framework of inter-regional cooperation within the UN system, especially the UN Water UN Water Mechanism for Coordination and Coherence. We therefore look forward to closer follow-up with ECE in sharing knowledge and experience in the water sector. Once again, let me welcome you very warmly and assure you of ECA's commitment to assist in all ways to ensure that you have a fruitful deliberation with concrete follow-up outcome, which will not only help improve the quality and execution of JEFFA projects, but also contribute significantly to Africa's efforts at implementing the African Water Vision 2025. I thank you very much for your kind attention.
Yes, I need a